Sounds great. Got it. Well, welcome everyone to the very first inaugural IPeople Innovation Roundtable. So let me start off by introducing myself. My name is Brian Dickerson. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at IPeople. And you might be wondering here on the call, what is an innovation roundtable? What are you guys doing with this? The purpose of this meeting, IPeople's looking to host this quarterly. And each meeting we will have a special guest of honor join us to talk about some of the ways that they have accomplished, cutting edge type technologies and put them into the MEDITECH system. The simple fact of the matter is that healthcare and technology is moving at such a fast pace, and we're constantly needing to innovate and provide greater access to patient care. A lot of the partners and guests that we will have on this particular show are leaders in their industry. And so we're very excited to kick this off, very excited to have you guys listening in with us. And today's very first guest of honor is John Jacobs, who is the VP of Channel Management at InstaMed. John, do you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about InstaMed and what you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Ryan, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. Appreciate the opportunity, and just give you a little background about myself and about InstaMed. I've been employed with InstaMed just right at 10 years, and as you'd indicated, my role here is around channel management, and myself and my team is basically chartered with acquiring and managing third-party relationships. So part of InstaMed's strategy since our inception has really been to be a best of breed type model where we partner with various technology leaders in the healthcare market space. So that's primarily our role, but to give you a little bit more context of who InstaMed is and what we do. First of all, we were founded back in 2004. Chris Seid and Bill Marvin were our founders. And at that time, they were seeing the future, that patient responsibility and just really healthcare payments in general were very paper-based and error-ridden process. So their vision was to create a solution that simplified the healthcare payment process. So effectively, they developed a cloud-based solution that connects consumers, providers, payers, or insurance companies together, all to simplify the healthcare payment process. And as you probably know, as a consumer and sometimes a patient yourself, it can be very daunting. So I'm happy to represent the InstaMed solution to help smooth and simplify that process. And then just one last note, a couple of years ago, we were acquired by JP Chase, which has been a very exciting time for InstaMed. So the last couple of years, we have been operating as a wholly owned subsidiary of JP Chase Bank.
That's great. Thank you, John. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the official name of InstaMed is InstaMed, a JP company. I'd love to dive into that a little bit deeper, John. How did the backing of such a large, entity and well-known such as JP influence your industry position and the whole trajectory, if you will, of InstaMed?
Great question. So InstaMed was a leader in the marketplace. As I mentioned, we've been operating since 2004, but with the acquisition, it did a couple of things. It really validated that InstaMed was on the right track as an industry leader in healthcare payments, and really it just deepens the commitment with the additional resources that JP brings. It really provides more opportunity for InstaMed to continue down the path that we started back in 2004.
That's great to have such a large backing, but yet allow you guys to remain autonomous, and sort of sounds like it's a very symbiotic relationship moving your vision forward. So that's absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely.
So John, as it pertains to MEDITECH directly, kind of a twofold question here. How long has InstaMed been working with MEDITECH hospitals specifically? And part two, is there anything unique about the MEDITECH specific market that really made InstaMed interested in working with that hospital base?
Right. So absolutely, MEDITECH is a leader in the HR healthcare market. So InstaMed has always been motivated to work with MEDITECH clients. I would venture to say probably in the last 3 to 5 years, we've really started focusing more on MEDITECH clients, and simply it's just a matter of building out the infrastructure to support those clients, and having the opportunity to meet with MEDITECH hospitals. So we're excited about the opportunity for working with MEDITECH clients. And really, at the end of the day, when you take a look at MEDITECH's core solution and the solutions that InstaMed brings from a revenue cycle perspective of improving and simplifying the payment experience, concepts like reducing bad debt and lowering the billing costs that a MEDITECH hospital may see, what we're finding is that it's a natural fit.
Fantastic. Okay, so been working specifically in the MEDITECH industry for about 3 to 5 years. Talk to me about when you first approached the MEDITECH market. How was it getting the hospitals to see the value of what InstaMed provides? Were they able to really latch onto that and start seeing some immediate ROI?
Oh, absolutely. So, from a broader sense, InstaMed works with hundreds of hospitals throughout the country. Some of them, smaller regional hospitals, others quite large hospitals and health systems. But if you take a look at the InstaMed solution, as I mentioned, it's a cloud-based platform, and it's modular, meaning that there's an opportunity for a MEDITECH hospital to choose potentially one of our core solutions, for example, payment processing, the opportunity to improve how their patients initiate payments, or potentially their staff process payments. What we're finding is that, again, it's a natural fit for the MEDITECH clients. And overall, once we take a look at how clients are currently processing payments, how they're managing their revenue cycle process, and introducing the concept of electronic notifications, lowering costs as it relates to patients and billing, allowing patients to initiate payments from their mobile device or securely at a point of service. All of these, in addition to improving a hospital's security posture, have all been really key elements for MEDITECH clients choosing InstaMed. So it's been a great interaction that we've had working with MEDITECH hospitals.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So in working with the MEDITECH hospitals, was there anything, any feedback that you had received from your customer base, or points that they wanted really to help take it to the next level? Or was, everything perfect and no changes needed there?
Well, so there's always opportunity to improve, and that's InstaMed's goal, is to continue to simplify processes and reduce overhead and create efficiencies where we can. There was one key element when we were working with MEDITECH hospitals over the years, and it was the element of tighter integration, meaning the InstaMed platform interacting or integrating with MEDITECH. And historically, InstaMed did not offer that. So what we were finding is that clients were asking for a tighter level of integration to be able to share patient demographic information that lives in MEDITECH and make that available in the InstaMed platform. And then the concept of when a user or a patient initiates a payment, either online or in a clinical setting, the ability for payments that are processed, for those payments to post back to the patient record. And the reason why that is important is there's a lot of overheads that's associated with two separate systems that aren't integrated or speaking with one another. So duplicate keying and things of providing opportunities for human errors existed. So we were hearing that from our MEDITECH client base that a tighter level of integration between InstaMed and MEDITECH was of very high interest.
So would you say this was a common theme with the hospitals that you were working with, a similar challenge or concern that continued to pop up?
Oh, absolutely. Because we certainly work with a number of different hospitals, but these hospitals are leveraging separate patient accounting systems or EHR systems. And by and large, one of the features that they're looking for, in addition to the core tools that InstaMed brings to improving revenue cycle, is the ability for integration or the ability for the InstaMed solution to interact with the various practice accounting systems. So in the case of MEDITECH clients, their desire followed suit with many of the other clients that we've worked with some of the other practice accounting systems.
Understood. And so the customer spoke and InstaMed listened.
Absolutely.
Really interested to hear, John, about how, so as an organization, InstaMed had made the decision to, seek out ways to integrate your platform directly to the MEDITECH system. Now, anytime you're faced with that decision as an organization, you have options, right? So you as an organization can buy an integration type company that does this type of work and bring them in-house. Of course, you could develop it yourself. Or the third option is you can partner with a company who currently that is their core competencies. So can you talk a little bit about how InstaMed approached the decision to make this integration level happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of components that fit into this equation, but by and large, one of the biggest drivers that InstaMed was seeing at the time was time to market. And obviously, acquiring an organization is not an overnight process. Building an integration with resource constraints is also a time-consuming process. And InstaMed has a rich history, and you could even say it's in our DNA of partnering with other healthcare specific vendors to provide these types of solutions. So when we took a look at all of our options, it was really pretty simple to understand and be able to create a business plan that partnering made the most sense. And so we started our search for potential partners to build out this integration to MEDITECH.
Partnership is in our DNA. I love that, John. We'll have to get that quoted for you. That's great. Okay, so you made the decision to seek out partnership opportunities within the MEDITECH space. When that process first started, can you talk a little bit about what you found within the market? Were there many different vendors who offered this? Was it a bit overwhelming at all?
Yeah, it was an extensive search. So we were speaking with our existing clients. We were, looking at the marketplace through conferences and the like, and came across several different integrators that were out there. And we were pretty quickly able to narrow it down to 3 organizations that had some level of MEDITECH experience, and we really dug into the evaluation with those three vendors and started our due diligence with those three vendors.
Yeah. And obviously, ultimately, as an organization, InstaMed landed on partnering with IPeople. So what was it about IPeople that really made InstaMed feel like it would be a good partnership going to market to the MEDITECH hospitals?
There was really three main elements that really elevated IPeople to the top of the list. And the first being the history, the number of years that IPeople had been working with MEDITECH hospitals was by and large the longest of any of the organizations that we had met with. And then secondly, the feedback. We'd spoken with several IPeople clients, and the feedback that we got was very positive. And then as we started looking at the technical aspects of what the integration was going to look like between InstaMed's and MEDITECH solution, it was the people, the team of engineers that is going to manage implementations, that manage the technology, that make the interface work. That was the final elements that helped drive the decision to choose IPeople as our partner.
That's great. Thank you, John.
Absolutely.
Okay, so on this topic of integration and the engineers who helped put this together, I also want to introduce Charles Parker, who's on the line with us as well. Charles is an interface engineer here at IPeople, has worked with the organization for over 10 years. Charles, I'm going to turn it over to you for a moment, maybe to talk a little bit about what the experience was like building the InstaMed integration, what specifically the value it is that provides by having that solution integrated, just as an overall summary.
Right. So overall, it's quite beneficial for the hospitals, because now instead of having to have someone key in each and every patient payment into their bar system, now there's an interface that's getting this file and putting all that data for the hospital. So instead of having to have a team of people that's doing nothing but doing data entry of each one of these entries, the interface is actually taking care of that for them. Another added benefit is with the Assist toolbar, they're able to launch right into InstaMed and be on the patient account that they're actually taking the payment for. So all in all, it's made the life a lot simpler for the hospital staff that's in charge of doing the billing.
Charles, would it be fair to say that it almost makes the InstaMed platform feel like it's part of MEDITECH?
It 100% does, since it has that link where as soon as they click on the button, it opens to the patient they're already on in MEDITECH. It's a smooth process and flow for the end users. So they no longer have to worry about going into a separate system, logging in, finding the patient and everything else. Now it's all there and linked for them. And they never even have to see the file that's coming back in that gets entered into bar, because the interface is just picking it up, going in, creating the batch, entering all the records for them, and then letting them post it.
Charles, help me quantify this for a moment for all of our listeners. So you mentioned automating the process of putting those transactions into the MEDITECH bar system. On average, if you had to guess, I know we're sort of going off the top of your head here, but in order to manually key in a single entry, a single transaction into bar, how long would you say that process would take?
For your average user, you're probably looking around 2 to 3 minutes per entry, because they're having to go through, they're having to find the patient, they're having to determine the insurance, they're having to do the comments and the values and everything else. So you're probably looking at 2 to 3 minutes per entry. 2
to 3 minutes per entry. Okay, and John, I'm going to have you help us out as well. So on average, across your MEDITECH specifically customer base, how many transactions would you say you process in a day?
Well, on our platform, it's millions of transactions, but for a MEDITECH hospital, really varies on the size of the organization. But I would say on average, probably 1,000 to 2,000 transactions a day. And, again, these can be payments that are initiated in the hospital setting, whether it's the point of service, or potentially even their billing office, their billing organization, or potentially it's a patient or consumer that is initiating a payment through a portal, or websites, or even their mobile device. All of these are avenues that are what we consider to be payment channels. So each one of those transactions would, effectively be a payments to the hospital, and those are going to need to be posted back to the patient's records. And as noted, that could be a manual process. And again, what we're hearing from our client base is that they wanted that process automated.
Okay, this is absolutely incredible. So let me extract some of what you guys are talking about here. Let's go on the low end. Charles, you had mentioned that, it could take maybe on average 2 to 3 minutes to enter a single transaction into the MEDITECH bar system. So let's go on the low end of that, 120 seconds on that. John, you had mentioned that, it's approximately 1 to 2,000 transactions a day for your MEDITECH hospitals. That volume is absolutely staggering. So if I multiply the 120 seconds by 1,000 actual entries on the low end of both, that puts us at 120,000 seconds, translates to 2,000 minutes, translates then to 33.33 hours. So would it be fair to say that some of these hospital organizations may have entire teams that are just simply entering payments if they did not have this type of solution?
Yes, that's totally fair. Most of these hospitals do have a whole team of people sitting there doing these entries. Sometimes they break them up into multiple batches so they can enter the records all at the same time. Other times one person's handling one batch while another person handles a different batch. But it can be 2 to 3 people, up to 5 to 6 people, depending on the volume at that particular hospital.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so Charles, as someone who's written this type of integration, when this process is automated and running in the background, how quick would you say the integration layer is able to handle each transaction?
You're now looking at less than 10 seconds per entry. And that's if you have, quite a few pieces of data. It can get even lower than that, where we're talking from 2 to 3 minutes down to 10 seconds per entry.
10 seconds. Okay, so now for our users, let me do that math for a second. So we got 10 seconds per transaction. We'll go with our low end volume at 1,000 transactions for that particular day. That's looking at 10,000 seconds. Divide by 60, it'd be 166.67 minutes. Divided by 60, 2.78 hours. And so would it be a fair statement if we're looking at ROI to say basically we could take a process that was taking a team of users 33 hours collectively to put data in and move that down to less than 3 hours?
Yes, it's completely fair to say that. And then also we're eliminating the error, the human error portion of this. When someone's sitting there entering thousands of these entries, it's quite simple to flip a decimal place or to flip 2 digits. And then what you're looking at is you then have to go through that whole batch to find which one you misentered. That's something you don't have to worry about with the interface, because as long as the data is correct in the file, the entries will be correct. So when you go to process that batch at the end of it, the control amount is going to, match up with the amount from the file. So we've removed the human error and the amount of time it would take to go find that error by going through each entry in the batch.
That's
Ryan,
yes.
I'm sorry to interject here, but it's really not uncommon for InstaMed to work with a client after the implementation is complete and they've started to process payments. We'll do an interview with them to ensure that all the features and functions are working properly. And many times we're able to take a look at the improvements that they've seen. And many times it's not uncommon for us to see that resources have been reallocated to other areas in their organization because that manual process is not required. And then if we put a dollar amount on it, many times it's tens of thousands of dollars in savings because of this. So we're really seeing strong evidence that having this level of integration is really improving the bottom line for these hospitals.
John, I think you just said an absolutely key piece to this. And let me make sure I understood you. You had mentioned that what you're seeing across the organizations, it's not that getting this level of integration allows the organization to let go of their team that was doing this work previously. It's that you're seeing that they've been reallocated to other areas within the hospital. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's not the intent, but the intent is to have your resources perform functions that are the most impactful, and having the ability to automate this function allows these resources to focus on higher impact items within the hospital.
What a great story. What a great story. I'm not sure about you, but for me personally, and I'm sure for many of our users here, I can imagine it might be a little bit challenging each and every day if your specific role was just simply keying in transactions all day. And so having the ability, to feel like you've been moved to something that maybe a bit more challenging or a bit more fulfilling. I think that's an incredible piece and really a kind of a byproduct of what's happening here.
Absolutely.
That's great. Okay, let's open this up a little bit. I think that we've uncovered some fantastic points and challenges that this particular integration and this particular platform, InstaMed, being a best of breed with payment processing, uncovers. Is this level of, Charles, this question is directed towards you, but is this level of integration limited to billing and financial type transactions?
No, it's actually across the board. Pretty much anything that hospital personnel are currently stuck entering into the MEDITECH system, we can be entering for them so they don't have to do the double data entry. So we can be helping with laboratory results or laboratory orders. We can be helping with, admissions and registration. It's quite a full gambit of what you can automate that will then free up hospital personnel.
That's fantastic. Okay, so for our users that are listening in to this innovation roundtable, this may have spurred some thoughts on, hey, could we automate this or could we automate that? And it's our hope and desire that this really keys in to some possibilities for the hospital's organizations, and so therefore they may be out on their own search to find a vendor or integration partner. Can we talk about some key elements that they should really think about as they're starting their search? Because as John had mentioned previously, there are a lot of integration vendors out there, and even a lot within the MEDITECH space itself. So what are some key elements that users should be thinking about as they start the search?
Probably the number one thing would be experience. You want to find the vendor that has been in this market space doing what you need done for the longest amount of time with the best team. Because there's other vendors who may have been working with Epic or Cerner, and they're just now getting into MEDITECH. While that company may have been around a while, if they haven't been doing integration into MEDITECH, that's kind of a wild card that you don't know what you'll be getting. So you want to find the company that's been doing MEDITECH integration for the longest period of time. And then I'd also look at things like, have they worked with all three flavors of MEDITECH? Have they worked with Magic and client server, as well as, Focus MAT? Because you want to find the fully well-rounded, experienced vendor to handle your needs, because it's going to make for a smoother process and a smoother maintenance and support afterwards.
Charles, is it a fair statement to say that a vendor who has many years of experience working with an Epic or a Cerner, that would translate well to MEDITECH?
It is actually not fair to say that, because while all EHRs are similar in how they function or what they accomplish, each one is vastly different. So experience, integrating into Epic doesn't really play into integrating with MEDITECH at all. Each one of these EHR systems has different ways you have to integrate. So while you may know the terminology, the actual integration is going to be 100% different. So you want to find someone that specializes it for your EHR system.
That's great. Thank you, Charles. Talk to me a little bit about, and John, this question may be directed towards you. Inevitably with integration, sometimes, it's important that you work with a vendor that really understands what that integration does. And if there are any challenges or changes that occur within the MEDITECH system, really knows how to go in and fix that. What has your experience been with the customers you've worked with that have had the InstaMed IPeople integration and you've needed to contact support at all?
So there's a couple things there to comment on. So going back to your earlier question around InstaMed's options when we were taking a look at the desire to have integration into MEDITECH, and I shared that our preferred approach was to partner with a technology organization. But what I failed to mention at that time was that the maintenance of that integration is a living, breathing thing. I mean, there's many times there's updates or changes to the MEDITECH platform. As Charles mentioned, there's several different flavors of the MEDITECH platform. So all of those elements of maintaining the integration is critical. Just because you deploy it and have it working day one doesn't mean that there's going to be the need for some level of maintenance as things change with the practice accounting system in MEDITECH. So all that being said, that was a critical element for InstaMed's decision. And then secondly, from a support perspective, feedback has been very positive as changes are made or enhancements needed to the existing logic been effectively a non-issue with our clients. So happy to report very positive feedback there.
That's great. Thank you, John. So would it be fair to say then, based on your experience, that it's critical when seeking out a vendor to have a vendor partner who has support in-house that supports their own products and doesn't outsource that?
Correct.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of those changes. Charles, John had mentioned, as MEDITECH may have a change or enhancements are done, does IPeople charge for those type of changes?
No, we do not. As long as it's just a standard MEDITECH Power Pack or an update that happened to MEDITECH, we hop right in there, we get it changed, we get it fixed, and they're back up and running with no additional cost. That's
fantastic. That's fantastic. Okay, so I want to go back a little bit to, and Charles, this will be a question for you as well. I want to go back a little bit into the exercise that we did a few minutes ago. John, you had mentioned, thousands to tens of thousands of dollars a year savings with this type of integration by being able to reallocate resources. So it seems like this type of integration is complex, would take some time to build. Charles, talk to me a little bit about how long would it take to put a solution like this in place to automate the matching of transactions in the MEDITECH?
Right. So when we walk into this and we've already got the file layouts, we already have all the information we need from the hospital, and we're ready to begin the development, we can have this interface developed and ready to go live or go into UAT testing within a week. So you're talking about less than a week to do this.
Wow. Less than a week with an ROI of tens of thousands of dollars a year. I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly from you gentlemen.
Yes, that's 100% correct. Less than a week and they can be up running with this and then frees up their team to do other things.
That's fantastic. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you both so much for your time. I want to give both of you the opportunity to talk about if, are there any other final thoughts, comments, any other benefits hospitals may need to think about or might see by choosing best of breed, products like InstaMed and having that integration level in place?
I can go into it a little bit. To me, the hospital's most valuable resource that they have is their people. If their people are having to do double data entry and trying to find mistakes and human errors that did occur in two disparate systems, then you're doubling the amount of overhead for each one of your people. As you start automating these processes that can be automated, you're now freeing up your best resources to be able to better assist the hospital and the patients. So instead of having people in a back office keying in bar batches and putting in thousands of entries, those people can now be up front taking the payments or working around the hospital helping the patients with other things. So as you automate these things, it not only saves the hospital money, it's going to make for a better overall experience, not just for the hospital, but for the patients themselves. And in the end, the patients is what this is about.
That's great feedback, Charles. Thank you.
Absolutely. And just to echo some of those comments, absolutely, there's going to be benefits with the integration, improving staff workflow and reducing the amount of effort required, eliminating dual entry, things of that nature. But also, some of the core functions of InstaMed for improving the patient payment experience. Again, I mentioned, the concept of receiving a text, being notified that you may have an outstanding balance, and within a couple of clicks on a mobile device, being able to initiate a payment to a MEDITECH hospital has been really, really powerful to eliminate some of that headwind that historically has been problematic for a patient to potentially receive something in the mail and maybe have to write a check or what have you. We're removing all of that headwind, for lack of a better term. And for those that are interested in learning more about InstaMed and our solutions, I would highly encourage them to check out our website or contact me directly and be able to be happy to answer additional questions about our functionality and the integration, as it were, with we've created with IPeople.
That is fantastic. Thank you, John. I want to thank both you gentlemen so much for joining us here today on the very first Innovation Roundtable, hosted live from Dallas, Texas. Your time is absolutely invaluable. For our listeners out there, I hope you gain some insight into some of the things that we are doing, and I'm really excited for you to join us at our next Innovation Roundtable that will be hosted in Q1. Details to come. Be checking your inbox. Eric, back to you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for sharing. And John, thanks for mentioning how we can get in touch with InstaMed if it's something where folks do want to find that better way. If they're experiencing that pain of patient payment processing, if they want to offer more ways, instamed.com/meditech-integration. They can get in touch with you guys there, request a demo, reach out to you. Definitely want to encourage folks to explore how they can create that better patient payment processing and really uncover, as you mentioned, lost payments. Instead of going through different routes of trying to collect those payments, they can get that all back through the hospital there. And then with the IPeople team, we've got a free interface evaluation process where they can contact us and we can explore and find ways that we can help them to better find efficiencies. As Charles mentioned, I think it was a great way where we can help their team create those efficiencies and really see value in helping their folks do things that are valuable with their time and not spend all that time on some data that may be missed. Inaccurate data can really create a lot of inefficiencies as they try to go back through their time. But guys, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your thoughts on this. Integration's a super valuable piece of what we can offer hospitals there. So we look forward to talking more on our next Innovation Roundtable. Thank you.